Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. This is your accident and injury attorney, Jobeth Bowers here. I am coming to you live from the mess and monstrosity that is my office here in Elkton, Maryland. As you probably know, if you are tuned into this, I am an accident and injury attorney here in Maryland. Primarily, the focus of my practice is auto accidents, and a lot of that recently we've kind of shrunk things down to handle most of our work here in Cecil County, which is where my main office is located. We still do occasionally handle stuff throughout the state, but we've set up a bunch of referral partners with other attorneys in other parts of the state to kind of handle a lot of that stuff. So, busy day, exciting day. I know we probably have some people out there that are excited about the eclipse that's going to happen this afternoon. I'll warn you, like you've probably been warned 100 times by anybody out there, don't look directly at it. I've also been told not to kind of trust some of these and be very cautious with the eclipse glasses that are out there. Let's just be real. Don't stare at the sun, okay? We live in a world where we've got to warn everybody about all of this stuff. I, for one, chuckle a little too hard when I see some of those memes out there that are like, in 1980, we think we're going to have flying cars by 2020. And then in 2020, we've got rappers that say, don't eat this wrapper. So just use some common sense out there. I know it's exciting. It's kind of a few times in a lifetime sort of opportunity, but if you're watching this and you're here in Maryland, we're not really in the direct line where there's going to be the totality anyway. I know that part of the country, that little strip that goes down through, is a little bit of a madhouse with traffic and flights and hotels and everything like that. But here in Maryland, I don't particularly have eclipse fever. I'm certainly going to observe what I can safely this afternoon, but it has been some incredibly busy times here at Bowers Law. In fact, we are 8 days into the month of April and have already provided checks to our clients that total over $250,000 settlement proceeds. These are not what we've settled cases for, but this is the amount of money that is actually going into our clients' pockets after everything has been paid. And what today's podcast is going to be about is a brief overview that sets the table for future episodes where we'll go more in depth to the different factors that play into what we're looking for and what goes into settling one of these auto accident cases. And it's important to note, and I always bring this up because of how close that we are, our main office here, to both Delaware and Pennsylvania, is that these factors are sometimes a little bit different, or at least how the math is done on the back end is a little bit different here than in those other states. And that is, and I'm assuming that to be the case for most other states in the country, because the laws that dictate what we can and cannot say in court, what does and does not add up, all of that is different state to state. And it's very, very different in those two states that border us here. And I would imagine, again, other states to be, all sorts of different tweaks, bells, whistles, etc. So just, if anything that you are taking from anything that I say, throw it out the window and talk to an attorney that's qualified and does these types of cases if you're in a different state. If you're in Maryland, you probably already know this. Just call me. The number is right there. I'll eventually learn which way I need to point and where all the stuff is on my screen. But hey, this is week 2. This is episode 2. I'm more interested in giving valuable information to folks out there that want it than pointing at the right place on the screen for where my phone number is. But hey, look, there it is. I got it. And hey, look, here's where the cars are crashing. And look, this is my website. So if you need anything, these are the resources to get in touch with my office. As always, with these podcasts, with these episodes, don't hesitate to reach out, whether it be in the chat where this is live streaming, calling our office, sending us an email so that we can kind of talk about what you might want to talk about. Again, I put right up here. That was easy because it's right in the middle. Send an email. If you want us to talk about it on a future episode, we'll queue those up. And when I say queue those up, obviously we can't talk about everything in every episode. I'm not out here trying to put anybody to sleep. I try to keep these things around the length that they were when I did the radio show. 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes tops if I've got a guests. If it is accident and injury related here in Maryland, I'm going to be your guy. I'm going to be talking all about it. If it's a different topic, and I welcome those different topics. If it's a different topic, I'm going to find somebody that does what you're asking about and does it well. And I'm going to bring them on and we're going to interview them. We're going to ask them your question and any other questions that relate to that. We've got attorneys that we work with in all of those different fields, many of those different fields, at least the ones that are commonly brought up, because I thoroughly believe that the strongest point in hiring me to handle your Maryland accident case is that it's all I do. As far as the practice of law is concerned, auto accidents are all I do and all that everybody in my office does. So it has given us the ability to be very, very good at all of the moving parts, some of which we're going to talk about today when it comes to what goes into valuing an accident case and a settlement, because that is one of the most commonly asked questions by somebody that calls my office. Hey, what's my case worth? It is one of the most commonly searched terms when it comes to somebody that's been in an accident, is trying to find out what that accident case is worth. So it's certainly something that we will address here. And again, today is going to be somewhat of a brief and broad overview where we talk about some of the different factors, and then obviously subscribe to what we're doing here, whether it be following our Facebook page or our YouTube channel or both. That way you can get the alerts. Although, spoiler alert, 10 a.m. Eastern Mondays is when these things are going to happen, okay? You'll also be able to, and you may already be watching this after the fact, because again, 10 a.m. on a Monday, I don't expect a ton of people to tune in. I just needed to pick a time where I'm going to consistently do these. That way it's on my schedule. That way I know to have a topic. If I'm talking about getting a guest on here, I can slot them in and I know that, hey, Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern, that's when we do it. But we'll break those down in future episodes and get a little bit more into the weeds on those different factors. Before we get into that, I want to invite everybody for an opportunity to support a great cause and hang out with me socially. Okay. In a little over a week, I am going to be attending the Youth Empowerment Source Build-A-Burger event. They have been doing this event as a fundraiser for about 10 years now, I think. I know that I have been supporting them as long as I have had my office here in Cecil County, and I am one of the sponsors for this event. It is on April 17th. And you can go to their website, youthempowermentsource.org. I believe that there are some tickets that are still available. In the past years, they have sold this event out so quickly that they have moved to an even larger venue. So here we are about 9 days ahead of, so next week, Wednesday, is when the Build-A-Burger event is. They've moved it to an even larger venue so that they can accommodate the interest. And if you are unaware of Youth Empowerment Source and the great things that they are not only doing here in Cecil County, but their program is a benchmark program for the entire country. All right. They've gotten national recognition. There are other organizations that are trying to do great things for the community. These are prevention-based things, as well as they just, they take a lot of people who are young kids, for the most part, school age kids, although they do more than this, but the genesis of this was kids that are in distressed households, whether they have parents who have drug problems, of which we all know there's a lot of that, people who are incarcerated, in and out of jail and prison, to make sure that there are foundational things and services that are available to those individuals to make sure that they don't slip through the cracks, to help them succeed in school and beyond school. They've got some really, amazing success stories there at Youth Empowerment Source. If I had to narrow it down and pick one organization that I was limited to provide funding for and raise awareness for, it would probably, almost without hesitation, be Youth Empowerment Source. So check that out. If you are available next week, Wednesday, grab the tickets. They go to a great cause. It's a really fun event. And hey, I'm going to be there. So what other reason do you need to show up to this event? Then you get to hang out with me. All right. So all joking aside, we're going to get into what we're really talking about here. That should not be the most exciting reason for you to come to the Youth Empowerment Source Bilderberger event, although it is one thing. Maybe it ranks up there. So I'm going to talk about auto accident cases. I'm going to talk about settlements. I'm going to talk about what goes into answering that question of what your case is worth. And I wouldn't be able to accurately do so if I didn't break down the three most important factors in our ability to settle or get a client paid, because occasionally we end up having to take these things all the way to trial. It doesn't happen all the time. It certainly doesn't happen all the time. 2, 3, 4, 5 times, no more than 10 times in a year do we actually put a case in front of a jury and have them decide the outcome of this. Even when we do have to file a lawsuit in a case, which is far more than 10 times in a year, a lot of these cases end up resolving somewhere along the process, because with most insurance companies, that negotiation process continues until we get to the trial date. So many of these will settle somewhere along the lines. And if you've got specific questions, ask us directly. That's what we do for our clients. We break all this stuff down for them. We get a far more in depth on these topics with our clients because we're talking about their specific situation, everything that they're dealing with, up to and including the insurance company that is ultimately going to end up paying these claims for them, which is obviously different in every case. So 3 main factors that allow us to be successful in resolving these cases. Number one, and again, this is another one of those factors that is very specific to Maryland, is liability. Is the other person 100% at fault for the accident? That is a yes or no question. If the answer is yes, then we've passed that hurdle. We can move on to the next phase. I say the 100% thing, and I also preface the difference between other states, because Maryland is one of, I think, 5 states, only 5 states that have this antiquated concept called contributory negligence. That's something that we'll talk about in another episode in depth. But basically, it means that if you contribute at all to the occurrence, you can't recover from the other party. Different states handle that differently. If you have questions about that, write in. We can bring somebody on from one of those other states to explain how it works in their state, especially if you have an accident that happened in another state. It's definitely important. We can help guide you, and don't hesitate to contact us about that, because as you will learn from this podcast and future episodes, we have a whole lot of resources, not only in other areas of the law, but other states. So we can definitely put you in touch with somebody that we trust that's going to handle everything properly. The third factor, I'm going to skip to the third factor because we're not going to talk about it today, other than me mentioning it, is how much insurance is available to pay the claim. It's not a be-all, end-all to being able to resolve the case, but it's certainly a cap on how much money an insurance company is going to be obligated to send a check for. So again, I just want to breeze over that because it's not the focus of today's conversation, not the focus of today's episode. We will go more in depth into that in the future. The second factor, that middle factor, the one that really makes each and every one of these cases so totally different. The main reason why you cannot And you should not do a Google search and find one of these wonky, harebrained settlement value calculators is damages. What happened to you in this accident? And it's very, very difficult, almost impossible to equate this to some sort of formula where you punch in a bunch of numbers because every single situation is different. And a lot of what these calculators do is just look at the raw amount of what your medical bills are and then maybe ask you a couple of other questions that will slide the scale of what they're going to multiply the total amount of those medical bills by and spit out some result. And there are way, way, way more factors than just take the medical bills, multiply them by some random or quasi-random number. So obviously the medical treatment, the care that it takes for you to get back after an accident to where you were before the accident is a big factor. Are the medical bills part of that? Yes. But here at our office, we look more into what did our client have to go through? Well, how did this impact their day-to-day life? So we are going to talk about the medical care. How much? What type? Did you need to get a surgery? Did you have a broken bone? Did something else more serious happen to you? How long did it take for you to recover? I can tell you every single person completely different. In fact, a lot of times, and one of my least favorite questions to get from clients, prospective clients, or other people out in the world is how long should I go to the doctor for? I don't have some textbook answer to that question. The answer to that question is how hurt are you? And what is it going to take to get you back to where you were before the accident ever happened? All of that's more important. Now, is that going to just be physical therapy for some folks? Yes. For some people, physical therapy, several months, that's all it's going to take. And then they're going to be back to where they were before the accident. And quite frankly, sometimes a little bit better. And sometimes you've got something more serious going on. You may go to an MRI. You may get referred to a specialist. You may find out that something more significant is going on. We deal with clients who end up getting injections, which is a little bit more aggressive than physical therapy, but a whole lot more conservative than having to get a full-on surgery. I don't meet a whole lot of people that come into my office after an accident that are like gung-ho excited about getting a surgery. Okay. You shouldn't be excited about it. All right. If you're getting a surgery, a doctor's going to go inside of you and alter your anatomy in some way. The hope, of course, is that there's a great deal of relief, that you feel a lot better, but the likelihood that after that surgery, you're going to return to 100% pre-accident condition is slim to none. There's almost always going to be some sort of a lingering issue, even if that lingering issue is just a scar from the surgery. That's like the best case scenario, is that all you're dealing with down the line is a scar from the surgery. So all of these things come into a factor. If we get into the weeds with these cases, which we generally do, we're going to be asking you a lot of questions that maybe don't make a lot of sense to you as to why we're asking them. I want to know what you do, not just for a living, because we're going to calculate time that you missed from work, but we want to know how these injuries impacted you at work, because there's going to be a time, if you miss time from work, that you return to work, but you're not quite 100%. You may not be able to do everything as easily or as quickly or as efficiently as you once did while you're still going through that recovery process. That's a factor in the settlement process. Outside of work, things that we do for fun on the weekends, in the evenings. Are you part of a softball league or a bowling league or some other sort of recreational sport that you can't do for a period of time? We've had some clients that have issues where, they ride motorcycles on the evenings and weekends and still, years after the accident, have difficulty sustaining longer motorcycle rides over long periods of time. And those are real factors that impact your daily life and are part of what goes into this settlement. You're not going to see these things itemized with a specific dollar amount. It just doesn't work that way. But ultimately, the way that we handle these cases, the way that we present these cases, if we have to get to a jury, the way that we talk to these about these cases to insurance adjusters before we get to a jury, or the way that we talk to them to an attorney that's been hired by the insurance company to pay the claim before we get to a trial, are going to really bring in all of these other factors, not just the black and white medical bills, time missed from work, multiply it by some random number. It's not that. It's not that. Some people want to think it's that. It's not that. Those wonky calculators that are really just clickbait traps to try to refer you to some attorney that's probably going to treat your case like you're some computer or robot. Avoid that stuff. If you want what these cases are worth, if you want to become more than just a claim number, obviously contact our office. We're happy to talk to you about it and make sure it's done right. So all of those things, the way that it continues to impact you, even though it may not impact you a year later, the way that it did the days following the accident, there may still be some ongoing issue that you're dealing with. Even if it's on a more minor scale, it's important to note, it's important that we know about it, and we bring it into play when we're negotiating or when we're presenting your case to a jury. And, so those are kind of the biggest factors that really make all of these things up. And again, in future episodes, we're going to dig deep into different types of medical care, different ways in which these impact your activities of daily living, ways that they may impact you at work, ongoing lingering issues that you may have into perpetuity. Again, those are all topics that we could drill down deeper into. But again, I promised you I didn't want to put anybody to sleep for too long because I know this isn't a super exciting topic. It's a super important topic if you have to deal with it, if it impacts your daily life. And obviously that's what we're here for. And we're happy that you, when you are watching this, that you've tuned in to get this sort of insight. So we're going to wrap it right there because we are getting ready to, we're getting right up on that time limit. This is probably this is a little longer than I'd want an episode to be when I don't have a guest that I'm talking to. So again, as always, if you have questions, if you want me to talk about them here on this podcast, the information's right there. Just shoot me an email, info@bowerslawmd.com. I will either address it in a future episode as it's on topic, or I will dedicate an entire episode to that topic if it's not something that we were planning on talking about. That's what we're here for. We're here to provide that general information, point you in the right direction, find you a qualified attorney that can handle the situation that you're dealing with whenever or wherever that might be. If you are in an auto accident and it was in Maryland or even another state and you want us to refer you to somebody that we trust, give us a call. 885 I'm pointing the wrong way. I told you I'll eventually get it. 885-6200. I think the key is I just got to look for the stuff that's in the background and I know where it is. So if I want to point to something that's behind that blue paper box, I just go like this and still miss it. Yeah, there we go. That's where the crashing cars are. This is where the phone number is, sort of. There we go. Let's see how long it takes me to figure that out. 6, 8, 20 episodes. Maybe we'll get it perfect by episode 80. That's a throwback to something fun. If you know, you know. So hopefully I see you at that Build-A-Burger event to support. Yes, pointing the wrong way. There we go. There we go. Bing. Got it. That's just going to be the running gag, isn't it? Until next time, again, every Monday, 10 a.m., it's going to be live streaming here. Then I think it floats around on Facebook. I know it stays on YouTube. But hey, we'll figure this all out. And again, keep those questions coming. info@bowerslawmd.com. Or if you need something more urgently, if you want us to represent you for one of these situations that we handle, give us a call, shoot us a message through our website. We're here for you. Everybody be safe out there, especially don't look at the sun. Not today, not any other day. You wouldn't look at the sun any other day, so why would you look at it today? This is Attorney Bowers signing off. All right, be well.